Yes. Okay, everything's done. So let's begin. So yeah, welcome to the revision session. I believe this is the very last Sec 2 session we are doing this round. So for those that are online, okay, hope you can catch this very last session. Okay, then yeah, congrats if you are here. Okay, and welcome officially. So who are we? So we are a group of tutors from OVERMUGGED, and we are here to help you with your subjects. So the basic idea is that we want to be as young as possible. So all the us tutors, I think you can see all 3 classrooms are being used. The 2 beside us are all JC classes. There's a group class, there's a revision session, and I think the tutors are all also pretty young people. So we want to be as young as possible so that we can be as relatable as possible. So the branches that we currently have, Bukit Timah, Parkway Parade, and next. So currently we are at the Serangoon outlet. And for myself, I teach primarily at Parkway Parade and next. For the Bukit Timah, I do teach there as well, but I only teach my JC classes there. For the classroom spaces, we also do have other locations, which is like Toa Payoh, Jurong East, Woodlands. So these are more for like students that want these locations, and we can look into the opportunity to teach them there. Okay, let me introduce myself. So my name is Kaiwan, and I've been teaching for about 6 years already, and I primarily teach O-level and A-level mathematics. So for me, actually, I don't teach Sec 2. I primarily don't really teach Sec 2s a lot. I teach more of upper Sec and beyond. Okay, so yeah, but I have taught before, so don't need to worry. So for me, my background is I studied math in university, and yeah, I love math a lot. That's the basic idea. So what are we doing today? So for today, we'll be covering one of the more important topics in the Sec 2 syllabus, which is the algebra topics and algebraic expressions and formulae, and also your equations and inequalities. Why these two? Because these are the big foundations that are necessary for you to move on when you move on into Sec 3 and so on next year. Okay. So without further ado, okay, we can officially begin. So sorry for the slight delay, okay, but yeah, we can begin now. Okay. So in front of you, you should see the notes that we'll be using today. These are the notes with the Rubik's Cube in front. So what are we covering? Okay, like I said, will be the algebra chapters. Now, before that, let me first say something. So let me just introduce to you my team as well. So this is the math tutors for OVERMUGGED. The 3 of us, the guy is me, the fattest one there is me. Okay, the skinnier guy, he teaches A-level math at Bukit Timah, and the girl, she teaches O-level math at the Bukit Timah side as well. So for myself, I primarily station myself in the east side of Singapore. Resources. So this is an additional database of resources that we are providing for students. So what this is that we have searched out some very good questions and practice questions for students, and we're going to drop this inside this Dropbox over the week. So just take note that currently right now there's nothing inside. Okay, the reason is because we don't have the time to actually prepare these materials yet, but we are preparing it right now. We will upload this within the end of this week, or most likely it's next week, to be very honest. The answers to whatever we are doing today and also these practice questions will also be uploaded inside there. But that one also need to wait. It will take some time to come. Okay. So if not, okay, let's not delay anymore. Let's begin with the algebra topic, algebraic expressions and formulae, and your equations and inequalities. So we start off first with the first chapter. Now, first thing that you need to take note of is that this particular chapter, this is not the entire chapter for your Sec 3 mathematics and your Sec 4 math that you're going to cover next year and the year after. There are many, many more things that we included inside this topic, but for now, we're just going to talk about the basics first, things that you need to know moving forward. Algebra is a very, very important topic, especially coming from someone that teaches O-levels and A-levels. It is very important, and a lot of people struggle here if your foundations are really not strong. So this is super important. Okay. So please listen carefully. I will be helping you in giving you a lot of guides, a lot of ways to solve questions very fast, and help you. Past 2 experiences from my 2 different classes, it looks like a lot of people are not very good at algebra. I understand it. This needs practice. Okay. So let's start off first with the basics first. It will take me about 30 minutes to finish through the topic, every single thing I want to say will be done in 30 minutes. The remaining time, I'll give you some time during the class to actually try the questions at the back. Okay, so let's begin. We begin with the first part, which is about changing the subject of a formula. So when you need to change the subject of a formula, what's the main idea? The idea is about bringing whatever you want onto the left-hand side, whatever you do not want onto the right. So I give you a simple example. We see that this t here, this is what we want. Whatever we do not want is your x and your k. So what we do is we go through some process in order to remove it, and then we get t on the left and whatever we want on the right. Understand? I believe this is something that you have learned before, okay, but maybe on not this complex scale, but yes, this is something that you have definitely covered before. Why not we look at a very simple example? So I'm going to jot down a simple example here. You might want to record this down on your own set of notes. So maybe I give you a random question. X is equals to the square root of a plus 3b over 2b. And for example, my question to you is to ask you to make b the subject. So how do we do this? Let's go slow. Let's start off first by removing the thing that is a bit disgusting down there, which is the square root. This square root is a bit ugly. So how do we remove square roots? By squaring both sides. So let's square both sides and we will get x squared equals to a plus 3b over b. A2b, sorry. After that, let's cross multiply. Because fractions are very ugly to deal with, let's cross multiply. I will get 2bx squared equals to a plus 3b. After that, we need to identify which of the following contains the one we want, which is b. In this case, is 1 here and 1 here. So what we do, we throw whatever we want onto the left. So 2bx squared minus 3b equals to a. We can pull out the b. 2x squared minus 3 equals to a. This is by factorization. And we can divide it down. b equals to a over 2x squared minus 3. And that's the answer. Okay. So the process here is very simple. We remove the square roots first. Cross multiply. So maybe if you want, you can jot down the methods in between. This is cross multiplication. And from here to here is factorization. Simple enough? Okay, I think this is a pretty simple concept. So later, when we look at the question at the back, please must be able to do. Okay. Any questions from anyone? No? Okay, moving on. So one thing that I want to say, whenever you take the square roots of anything, you need to be a little bit careful. Plus, minus. This is important. Some people will forget your plus minus sign. So please remember to put plus minus whenever you are taking the square root of anything. Next, let's look at algebraic manipulations. So we're going to be manipulating a few different things, and we need to do simplification. That's the first one. So how do we simplify? Simplify is basically the process of removing every single bracket that we have and group up things that we are in common. So in this case, M, these M's are common, so we group them together. N's are the things that are slightly different, so we group them together as well. And then we pull out common factors. So you can see the 10 and the 6. It's pretty obvious that here there's a common factor of 2, so you can factorize it out. Next is the idea of the expansions of algebraic expressions. So these three formulas here, excuse me, are things that you need to memorize. So you might want to jot down, you need to memorize these. These are things that you definitely need to remember because they are not given to you during the exams. You need to remember, okay, and so that you can use it properly. Now let's go through one very important thing. Please remember that there are two common mistakes here. Number one, they are all written for you at the bottom, but I want to stress one of them. So for this, please remember that this is not true. Not true. A plus B holding squared is not the same thing as A squared plus B squared. This is not true. The reason is because we can expand this. We get A plus B holding squared equals to A plus B times A plus B. Then we do our rainbow expansion. That's why there exists a middle 2AB term. Understood? So this is important. The second one that I want to stress is about a minus sign. If you look at the bottom down here, okay, this is a very criminal mistake that some people make during exams, which is about the effect of a minus sign when you're dealing with your algebra terms. Now, please listen carefully. This is something that I preach to all my students whenever we do algebra questions. Whenever we see minus signs in questions, always put a bracket around that term with the minus sign. Let me explain to you why. If you do not, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. I'm going to show you the correct solution for this. So, if you have a minus of A plus 2 holding squared, it's the same thing as putting a minus sign. Now, I'm going to open up a bracket and expand. So I get, okay, I'll go slow, A plus 2, which is the same thing as negative A squared plus 4A plus 4. And then we apply the minus sign in. So plus sign. Right, yes. Sec 2, is it? Yeah, can. Anyway. And then we get negative A squared minus 4A minus 4. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Okay, so compare the answer between that and that. Very different. Okay, so please be very careful. Trust me on this. So I suggest you build the habit early about this bracket here. Build it early so that when you go into upper sec, when your questions get more complicated, you'll be able to do. Understand? Any questions before we move on? This is page 6. Yes. Talking about the expression here. Okay, before we move on, any questions? Okay, just want to check this talking pace, okay? Can I go faster? Okay, because feedback was that I talk a bit fast sometimes. So this pace, okay? Can I? Okay, very good. If it's too slow, please do let me know, okay? Because I don't want to be too slow. Moving on. Okay, I'll move on into factorization. So for factorization, there are a few things that we need to take note of. We need to be able to pull out common factors. So please remember, whenever you see the words factorize, it means pull out common factors. It is very different from simplify. Simplify means that we are going to group common things together. Factorize means we pull out common things. So let's look at an example. 2u squared minus 32w squared. Notice the 2 and the 32, okay, they have the same 2. When we factorize it out, we get u squared minus 16w squared. And then this thing here is an identity, okay, which is the a squared minus b squared. algebraic identity. And we of course get u plus w, 4w, u minus 4w. One thing I want to stress is this, look at a common mistake box. For example, let's look at an example, okay? For example, if you see things like this, 4x squared minus 1. Are you able to break this down even more? Yes, definitely. The reason is because you can rewrite this as 2x squared minus 1 squared. Remember, when you see the number 1, 1 is the same thing as 1 squared, which means 2x minus 1, 2x plus 1. Yeah? Okay, sometimes if you go too fast in exams, you might forget about the 1. So please take note of this. Okay, make a conscious effort to always ask yourself, can you go further? Can you go further? Okay, most of the time you should be able to go as far as possible. Okay, the next one. So this is another example of a question where you can factorize common things out. I'm going to show you an alternative solution to this question too, right here. So instead, if you really don't want to put common factor, we can expand. So let's expand it together. 9x squared plus 12x plus 4 minus 9x minus 6, which is 9x squared plus 3x minus 2, and you get your answer. 3x plus 2, 3x minus 1. Okay, this is another way to do this kind of simplifications. Okay. Any questions before we move on? Okay, if no questions, let's move on. Okay. Everyone good up? Very good. Next example on the next page, we are going to look at a 5-term expression. It's the same thing. I leave it to you to read on your own. There are certain things that I will go past. It's for you to read on your own. Okay, I won't go through. For example, things like this, you can see there are certain things you can pull out, definitely like the A's, and also things like the Y's and the 2's. Okay, so you need to train your eyes to be able to spot things, to be able to be pulled out in order to do your factorization. Now, one thing I want to say that is super important is the next page. Okay, the next page is very important. So let's look at this next page. This one is one of the most important things in this whole entire chapter. The reason is because very simple. Let's look at this example here. AX plus BX plus KAY plus KBY. Now, I'm going to flip. You don't need to flip. I flip for you. This is your O-level syllabus guide. This is what you need to know for the O-levels. Notice one of the bulletin points here. This is exactly what they will test. Understand? So an example of a question like this will 100% come out for your O-levels. Same thing will come out for your end of year exams as well. So this is very important. Okay, the way we do factorization of 4 algebraic terms, 4, I repeat, 4 algebraic terms is this way. We group it into 2 sections. Okay, either one, this is one set, and the next page is another set. Let's talk about the first one first. We call this the 2 and 2 grouping. The second one is called a 3 and 1 grouping. Let me explain what this means. 2 and 2 grouping means we're going to group up the first 2 terms together and then the back 2 terms together. That's why it's called 2 and 2. Now, is it necessary for it to be grouped like this? No. It can be, for example, 1, 3, 2, 4. Also can. You get what I mean? As long as you find a pair of 2 and a pair of 2. That's why it's called 2 and 2 grouping. Usually, I tell my students to always look, whenever you see 4, first thing identify what type of grouping is it, 2 and 2 or 3 and 1. Then you apply the appropriate actions. For the 2 and 2 grouping, this is very straightforward. So let's look at a very simple example. We can see, like for example here, the x's you can pull out. The 4, you can pull out. Is it also necessary that they give you everything very nicely like that? No. Sometimes we can move things around as well. You yourself need to be able to move the terms on your own. Understand? So practice makes perfect. Okay, please look at more questions on your own accord. The next one, let's go through 3 and 1 grouping. What is that? So by the name itself, you should already know groups of 3 and groups of 1. So we're going to group up the first 3 terms together, and we're going to group up the last term together. This is a very unique example. Why? Because the group of 3 can only be factorized using your methods that you know. This is the only way this 3 can be factorized. Understand? One more thing. Some people will ask, how come here is PQR, but all of a sudden I jump to A and B? Okay, let me explain. These are just placeholder letters. They don't mean anything. They're just here to show you an example of a simplification. You do not think that it is just equals P is equals to A. No, it's not. It's just an example of how it's supposed to be simplified. Understand? So don't get confused if you were to read this set of notes at home yourself. Okay? Any questions before we move on? All okay? Okay, all okay. Can I just one round ask what school you're from? Just curious. School. Sorry? Both are same, right? You? Nanya. Oh, okay. You? Oh, okay. You know, I'm teaching like 4 of your students. Oh, your school students. Okay. TKGS, I think I got 1 also. Okay, cool. Moving on. Okay, factorizing quadratic expressions. Now, for factorizing of quadratic expressions, we have a few different methods, but for Sec2, right? Sorry, for Sec2s, okay, we have only 1. Okay, sorry, because this whole week I've been teaching all the levels, so I will slowly get confused once in a while. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, but Sec2s, you will only learn 1, which is your box method. Correct? Okay, let me share with you a little secret. I don't know whether you know this. If you know, good. If you don't know, then learn from me. I believe in school, when they give you a question like this, what you will do next is to use this, right? Correct? And then you solve. After you get the answers out from here, then you get the answer. Agree? And I believe in school, they will teach you to use your calculators to check. Am I right? So no nots. You know you can use your calculators to check, right? Okay. I hope you know. If you don't know, then good to know now. Okay, if you didn't know that, you can use your calculators to check your answer. So what I would personally recommend instead, okay, this is a little bit of a cheating way of doing the question. Okay, we cheat a little bit. Instead of doing this, then this, why not calculator first, then this? You know why? Because this is just for show. Understand? It's just to tell people that you never use the calculator. It's just a little strategy. So I'll show you an example of how we do it. Very, very simple. You type this into the calculator. What do you get? Can you try now? Type this into the calculator and can you tell me what are the solutions of this equation here? No calculator. What brand you use? Yeah, I don't have. Okay, so I believe you will get x equals to -1 and x equals to -3. Correct. If you never get it, your calculator you got problem. Not the calculator got problem. You got problem. Correct. Okay. Okay. You will get the answer x equals to -1, x equals to -3. Now, question: are you allowed to just like that in exam? Obviously not. You will get it wrong. So secret. Okay, this one don't tell people. Okay, but everyone knows that, to be very honest. Okay, so don't tell people. What we do, very simple. We cheat. We work backwards. What does x -1 mean? X plus 1. What does x -3 mean? X plus 3. Okay, I'm going to explain how we get it later in a while. And then what we do, okay, now we need to show people we use the box. Okay, we follow 2x squared, 6, 8x. And then what you do, you see the two brackets I wrote there? Just write down, no? X, 1, 3, and make sure you balance it. Make sure it's correct now. Let's see. I believe you can okay, maybe you put a 2 here, and maybe you put a 2 here. Then we're done. Okay. And we're done. So you get 2x, you get 6x, and voila, finish. Do you actually need to use this box? No. Just use your calculator. It's so much faster. Okay. So the way to cheat is this. Let me explain how to cheat. If your exams give you x equals to -1, very simple. Just remember, we move the -1 over, it becomes plus. So that's why x plus 1. Okay. If is x equals to 2 is a positive number, bring over x minus 2. Okay. If it's a fraction, x equals to 3 over 5, then it's just throw the 5 up, bring the 3. And of course, just to round out the examples, -3 over 5 is just 5x plus 3. Okay, so this is how to cheat the box. Understand? Any questions? Of course, this takes practice lah. It takes skill. Okay, so this one take a bit of time. If you want and if you are going to do it, then you should know this is how you do it. Okay. Any questions before we move on? Okay, this is important. There's a reason why I'm going through this. Okay, I'm going to assume, or Sec 2, right? Moving to Sec 3 next year, right? Okay, I believe you'll be given the option to take A Math and E Math. Correct? Okay, if you're going to take A Math, you need this. You will come back. Understand? And also, if anyone wants notes for E Math and A Math, I have. Okay, so if you want, just as a head start for yourself, you let me know later. Okay, I can give you. Okay, if you want JC notes as well, I also have a lot of extra. I want to give away. Okay, so just let me know. Okay. Okay, before we move on, anyone got any problems with this cheating thing? Don't have, huh? Okay, very good. E Math got a lot of things to cheat on, so it's quite fun. Okay, maybe I like to do this I did this with my Sec 3 just now. Why not I do it with you guys too, just for fun. Okay, so I want to scare you just for fun. Okay, this one is just a scaring technique, but it's very important because it's a good reality check in life. Okay, you know, in 2 years' time, you're going to sit for your O's. Correct? I believe everyone's going to sit for O-levels in 2 years' time. So I believe everyone is aiming for an A. Correct? No one should be aiming for a D. Everyone should be aiming for A1, right? Okay. So paper 1 is out of 90. And paper 2 is also out of 90. Okay, so in E-Math, you'll be paper 1, paper 2. This E-Math, not A-Math, E-Math. Okay, anyone wants to give me a guess of what score you need to score to get an A1 for E-Math paper 1 and paper 2? Want to give a guess of the number? $80. Okay. Too low. Yeah, too low for paper 1. Too low. Anyone want to give another guess? I mean, how many numbers left between 80 to 90? Want to give a guess? 85. Too low. No, too high. No, not too high. The one like that, only like 5 people will get. Can I give a guess? There's how many numbers between 85 and 90? Want to give a guess? Yeah, very good. 87. 87. Wait, sorry, to think. So I like to do this a lot, and then it gives the very shocked reaction, very fun. Okay, so this is 87. And then for paper 2, anyone wants to guess the score? Maybe you want to try? The one beside. Sorry, I don't know your name. You're just gonna, yeah, give a guess. Guess. Oh no, too high. Not too high already. We discount a little bit. You wanna give a guess? Guess a number. 50? No, too low. Behind? Just give a guess. It's 80 plus. That's the hint. 83. 2. No. Too low. Yeah. 80? 85. Yes. 85. Okay, let me explain to you why. So I see some of you calculating the score, right? Okay, to be very honest, because O levels, the A1 is not 75. Yeah, that's the reason why. The A1 for E-Math is usually not 75, it's way higher. The reason is because the subject is very easy. Everyone can do. So this is just a little warning out there. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Usually for paper 1, there are about 25 to 26 questions. Okay, so if you need to score 87 out of 90, do you know how many questions you can get wrong? 1 out of all 26 questions. Okay, sorry to scare you, but it's a fact of life. For the 85 to 90, right, there are total about 10 to 11 questions. How many questions can you get wrong? Half. Not even 1. Half a question. Okay, so welcome to secondary school. Welcome to O levels. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I'm really, really not kidding. Okay, this is a fact. You can go and ask. I mean, some people taking O's this year don't even know this, but it's true. Some people think that you need 50 to score A. No, I say first. I have a student, just to share. I have a student 2 years ago. She scored 82 for paper 1 and 80 for paper 2. She got a B3. Okay, so let me just share with you first. That is the reason why. Do you know why? Because the O-level questions are very easy. The questions are just like that. 8 plus 5x equals to 7. 1 mark. I'm not kidding. You will experience this in the future. So remember, when you open your question booklet 2 years from now, okay, you remember what I say. Yeah? Okay, sorry. Back to reality, okay? Yeah, sorry to scare you, but this is fun. I like to do it a lot. Okay, moving on. Okay, we're going to talk about fractions. That's why I say everything I go through here very important. Okay, listen to me. Trust me, you will save your life. Okay, so we're going to go through the simplification of fractions. Now, when you simplify fractions, what do we need to do? We need to cancel. Cancel things that are common. So what we do usually is for all the quadratic equations, we're going to break it down into as simple as possible, and then we go through cancellation process. Understand? Whenever you see quadratics, first thing you should do is to break it down. Now, I can promise you this, for your exams, even in Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4, it's all the same. Your quadratic equations for fractions will always be very nice. There will always be things you can simplify. Don't need to worry. Okay, but I say first, if you're solving a quadratic equation, then it's a bit different. For Sec 2s, your expressions will be very nice. But when you go on further, it will be very ugly. It will be more disgusting. Okay, so now it's still very nice because Sec 2, the life is flowers and rainbows. Okay, but next time it's no longer flowers and rainbows. Okay, so for now, just be happy first. Okay, nice, very good. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about some tips on solving fractional equations. Okay, this is something that if you come to me, I will be telling you non-stop. Brackets. Okay, and for me, right, you see, this kind of classroom, I love it. You know why? Because I talk, I sound very loud. You realize I talk very loud. Okay, so there's a reason why, because I want you to hear. I want you to, when you sleep, you remember my voice. Okay, that's my goal. Okay, brackets are very important. Whenever you see minus signs like this, you should always, and I repeat, always put brackets. Okay, now if you don't want to listen, just don't make mistake. Okay, if you're confident, then okay, don't need, your choice. Okay, but remember, trust me, to get 87 out of 90, you cannot afford to make careless mistake. Okay, so brackets are very important. The reason is because, you see, if you forget to put your bracket, people will make a mistake with this minus sign here, and then GG, your A1 fly. Okay, so think of it like that. Every one tiny mistake you make, your A1 fly. Okay. But this is only for national exam. School exam not like that. School exam is still 75. That one's still okay. Very easy to get in. But we talk about national exam, okay? That one, so I don't scare you too much. Okay, later you go back and cry and say my fault. No, okay, so next is inappropriate cancellations. So you see, I give you 2 examples here. What are these examples? These are my ex-students. Okay, these are my students, what they did 2 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. The only thing I never do is to put the name, okay, of who did it. Okay, but these are criminal mistakes. For me, I usually will ask people to pay me money if you make mistakes like this. Okay, you'll pay me 10 cents, and at the end, you'll go eat Hai Di Lao. Okay, for all the mistakes that people make. Okay, but no, just a joke, just a joke. Okay, so these are examples of mistakes that you cannot, and I repeat, cannot make. The reason is because, let's look at the first one. Can you just anyhow cancel like that? No, and this was a Sec 4, not Sec 3, Sec 4. 3 weeks to O levels did this. I almost cried that day. I say first. I almost mentally broke down that day when I saw this. Okay, please, no, okay, we stop this now. This cannot happen, okay. Well, this one even better. Okay, this one was the best. This was 2 weeks before O levels. Another girl, outstanding lah. But she got A1 for E-Math at the end. So magic. I don't know how. I think she cheated or something. But yeah, so I don't know how. But this is what she did for her end of the exams. Well, that day almost broke down. Okay, it was so sad. Okay, but please, you cannot do rubbish like this. You cannot just see got one term there, you cancel. No, it doesn't work that way. You want to cancel, you make sure every single thing contains that term. Understand? Okay, good. If you never make mistakes like this, good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Okay. Next one, usage of denominators. Okay, this one, if you can make this mistake, this one is still okay. It's still understandable. But not 1 week before O levels. That'll be scary. Okay, but these kind of mistakes are still understandable that people can make mistakes. I okay with it if you make this kind of mistakes, but not 20,000 times. Once enough already. Okay. Look, the denominators are 40 and 40 plus 8. So what this Gundu did was to go and plus 8 on the top and on the bottom to make it become 3 plus 8 over 40 plus 8. Is that correct? Obviously not. Okay, please, no. Okay, the way we do it is we make common denominator. Okay? We make common denominator by just multiplying. Understand? Okay, beautiful. Any questions? What's this? Multiplying multiplying denominators without thought. This one, okay, if you're making this kind of mistakes now, it's still okay. It's still understandable. Okay, but not same thing, not 3 weeks before O's. That one is very scary. Okay, but whenever you see things like this, okay, let me first say, I repeat something I said earlier. Quadratics in your fractions will always be very nice. They will always be very beautiful things that you can simplify. So use that knowledge to simplify it. The criminal thing that people will do is because sometimes very desperate cannot see, they go and cross multiply. And then your denominator becomes this gigantic monster there, okay, of a cubic equation. Can you at this level simplify this? Cannot. No way. Impossible. You can in Sec 3 in your A-Math, but still cannot. Okay, no, we do not do things like this. Confirm wrong. Understand? Okay, so please be very careful. Do not, and I repeat, do not do things like this. Okay? And I believe, oh, we're not done. Okay, and operations on algebraic fractions. Now this one, I'm going to go a bit faster because the content is very simple. It's just about adding, subtracting, times, and divide. I believe everyone knows how to do that. Okay, adding your fractions together. Okay, of course, brackets. Brackets very important. You're going to hear me nag about this a lot. Brackets are very important whenever we are simplifying fractions. Please remember, okay, bracket. Okay, pluses, same thing. Whenever you see disgusting denominators, we go and simplify. Okay, one thing I want to say is this. Now, notice, this is a 2 minus x and this is a x minus 2. They're similar. The only difference is just the minus sign. Understand? So what we can do is to factorize a minus sign out to make it become x minus 2. Okay? Beautiful. Okay, same thing. You read this on your own. I leave it to you. Oh, but I want to say one thing. You notice that I gave you so many examples, right? There's a reason why. It's not because for fun. Okay? The reason is because all these few questions here are the types that will come up for exam. Okay? It's all like that one. It looks exactly the same. The only thing they will change is the number. Understand? So just practice all these types. Okay. Same thing. This one criminal. Cannot. Do not combine into a single fraction and then your denominator becomes gross. Cannot. Doesn't work. Division and subtractions. Now, just a little tip for you. If these kind of questions are horrendous, okay, there is a strategy for this, okay, which is what I will do is this. If you're very bad at seeing the cancellation kind of process, you also cannot see, there's a way to cheat this thing. Okay, not really cheat, but easy way to do it. We multiply first. So for example, 18bc4h3 divide by 12b²c². Understand? So take the top, multiply with the top. Take the bottom, multiply with the bottom. Do not cross multiply. Don't very strange. It's top with times top, bottom times bottom. If you forget, we go back to primary school and we think half times 1/3. Okay, maybe not 1/3. Half times 3/5. What's the answer? 3/10. Correct? How? 1 times 3, 2 times 5. So just remember like that. Okay. Then after that, what we can do here? Cancel. Cancel. Okay. So this becomes 3. This becomes 2. The b and the squares will cancel. And this will become a 2. And then you get your answer. Okay. One thing I want to say is this. We should always cancel in pencil. You know why? If you make mistake, can erase. Okay. And I believe this is the last page for this part. Yeah, correct. Okay, so before we move on, any questions? Oh, sorry, for those that are coming. Any more questions? If there are no questions, we're going to move on into the next chapter. Let me get one sip of water. Okay, let me. Pastor Darren, who's your principal now? What Chan? I don't know. I have a cousin teaching in your school. Fun fact. Is it cousin or auntie? She's a bit old now. I think auntie lah. Because she got a kid already. Yeah, I think she teaches English, I think. I forgot her name. I forgot. I don't see this cousin every week, so I forgot her name. But yeah. I teach 4 Sec 4s from your school. Don't know whether you know. Do you know? Don't know. Chloe Chua. Destiny something. So I've been teaching these people for 6 months and I forgot their names. Renee, Charlotte. 4 people. I teach from your school. Okay. So moving on. Equations and inequalities. This topic is also very simple. Okay, let's very quickly run through this in like 10 minutes. Let's first talk about linear equations with 2 unknowns. Okay, this is what we call simultaneous equations. And simultaneous equations, there are 3 methods that we learn. 3. Elimination, substitution, graphical. Now, graphical is more for questions that require a graph. Then you use the graphical method. You don't be weird. If the question no graph, you use graphical method, a bit strange. Okay, it's always substitution and elimination. Now, because you're still very young and you haven't gone into Sec 3 yet, you learn both, right? Okay, to be very honest, when you move on in life, okay, that sounds like, sorry. When you move on, progress into Sec 3 and Sec 4, okay, you will realize that one of these methods become more obsolete. Okay, if you don't know what that means, it means one is slightly harder than, it will be more stupid, layman term, stupid to use, which is elimination. Okay, elimination, in my personal opinion, will become more difficult to use when you go further, especially if you're going to take A-Math in the future. A-Math will teach you this, substitution. Because next time your equations when you sub will all be quadratics. It will not be so nice. It will not be very beautiful, just 2 terms altogether. It will not be like that one. Okay? So for you, I don't know what you want, whichever you prefer. Moving on, quadratic equations. So to solve quadratic equations, there are 3 ways. But For lower side, you only learn one. Okay, the rest are all taught next year. You're completing the square, if you already know what is that, then good, and your quadratic formula, the second one, the negative b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, you will learn that next year. But for now, the only thing that you know is how to factorize. So this means what? Whenever you face quadratic equations in exams, they are always going to be very beautiful things. Okay? Any questions? Okay, moving on. So this was the cheating method that I was showing you just now. Okay, x equals to 3 becomes 3 minus x, x minus 3, sorry. X equals to half becomes 2x minus 1, so on and so forth. Okay, go and practice this cheating method because in the future you will need it. Now let's talk about solving quadratic equations. Now there's a difference between expressions and equations. Expressions got no equal sign. Equations got equal to something. When you're solving a quadratic equation, there are a few things that are more criminal that you cannot do. Number one, let's talk about this. If this is a mistake that you're making now, understandable, but please break this habit as soon as possible. When you see things like this on both sides of the equation, some people will cancel, and that is wrong. You're not allowed to just anyhow cancel things like this because you're going to lose a solution. What you should do instead is to bring it over and factorize. So please remember the rule of thumb is this. Always factorize. Never ever cancel any variables. Okay, so maybe I'll write this for you. Never cancel. Always factorize. Next. Any questions? I believe the next two examples are just another group of examples of people cancelling. Same thing, all rubbish. Please do not follow. Okay, you will get it wrong in exams. You will definitely drop solutions if you accidentally cancel like that. Okay, please do not do that. Just take note. Moving on. Incorrect cancellation is the same concept. Okay, this one nothing much to see. The only thing that you can cancel are numbers. So things like this, okay, no problem. But expressions definitely a big no-no. Cannot. Okay. Intermediate, I hate this word. Intermediate steps, intermediary steps. What does this mean? Workings in between. Like I said, when you're doing the box or whenever you're doing your quadratic formula in the future, you always need to show working. Okay. So please, whenever you see, there's a difference between 1 mark question, 2 mark question, 3 mark questions. 1 mark questions, do you need to give working? No. 2 mark questions, do you need to give working? Yes. 3 marks, obviously, on definitely need. Okay, but 1 mark don't need because they mark the answer. There's no half mark in the question. Okay, so please see the number of marks, then decide what you want to do. Okay, last part, and then we can start. Your turn to start practicing questions. Let's look at linear inequalities. Now, for linear inequalities, there are 4 things you need to know: greater than, less than, greater than equals to, less than equals to. Okay, and we need to be able to express things on a number line. So when you see solid circles like this, these are inclusion, means we include the point. Hollow circles are exclusions, we exclude the points. So you can see the difference in the inequality sign. So please remember this. Let's talk about something more controversial. You see the word and in the paper. So the question is this: your schools, do they teach you to use the word and, or do they teach you to use the word or? And or or? Or they never say before. Never say before. Never say before. Okay. So what's the answer for this? It should be n. Okay, so please remember that for this, it should be n. There's a very big difference between this and quadratic equations. Equations solutions, that one should be an or, this should be an n. Okay. The last thing before we end, as in this section, this is a criminal thing to do, is confirm wrong. Because this, I know some people will write it like that. And this is wrong. Understand? You cannot write your answers like this. This is confirmed incorrect. Okay. Nice. And these are the rules of your linear inequalities. Now remember, the golden rule for inequalities is what? Whenever we divide by a negative number, we need to flip the inequality sign. So please remember that. Okay, dividing or multiplying by a negative number, okay, you need to flip your inequality sign. And I believe that's about it. The rest you can read on your own. Okay? So now is your time to shine. I'm going to give you questions and we're going to try. Okay? So the first question I want, question 2. The entire thing. So I give you some time. Right. You might need full scan because there's not enough space. Does anyone not have? Yeah, you might need paper. Does anyone not have? Anyone want paper? Let's go through. It's okay if you haven't finished. Okay, but you might want to check your answers. Okay, so please look at your own solutions, and I'm going to write down all the different answers for all the questions. Okay. Let me write down the final answers first so that you can check your work. Okay, the answers are the first one, question 2, part A, 22 minus 3x over x minus 6 whole thing squared. And that's the answer. So question 2, part A. The answer is 22 minus 3x over x minus 6 squared. Part B, part 1, the answer is x is greater than negative 2 over 3. And part 2, the answer is 0. Part C, x plus 2 over 2x plus 1. Part D, x is equals to 1, 3 over 4, or x is equals to 2 over 3. And part E, x is equals to 1.5, y equals to negative 10. Okay, these are all the answers. Now, if you want, you might want to be more precise about something. Notice for part D and part E, my answers are in mixed numbers. If your answers are improper, it's not correct. Okay, I repeat again now. The answer should be in mixed numbers, not in improper fractions. Okay. Yeah, can. So if for part D, your x answer is 1.75 and 0.667, can. And for part E, if your answer is 1.5, also can. Okay. So can I just check if everyone is done with, can see? Yeah. Is everyone done with question 5 or question 2? Can we go through? Okay, let's run through everything very quickly. Okay, and then we can look at the solutions together. Okay. So if I do it in a slightly different way from you, you might want to jot the method down. Okay, but if it's exactly the same, then good job. We think alike. Okay, so 4 over x minus 6 squared minus 3 over x minus 6. Now, the first thing I will do is to notice that the second fraction is short of a square. So this means that 4, we short of 1 copy. We get this. And we can solve it. We get 4 minus 3x plus 18 divided by x minus 6 whole thing squared. Final answer is 22 minus 3x over x minus 6 squared. And that's the answer for 2 part A. Okay. 2 part B, the inequality, part 1. So the question is saying you need to solve the following inequality. 4 minus 3x is less than 6. So this is a strategy from me about inequalities. I hate inequalities with negative x values. I repeat again now. I do not like inequalities with negative x values because I don't want to divide and then change the sign. I don't like it. Okay, so for me, what I like to do is to try my best to force the x to be positive. So instead, let's move the x over. And we will get 3x bigger than negative 2. Okay, wait. I know you might be thinking like, hey, I changed the sign. No, I didn't. Look very carefully. The jaw here is still facing the x. The only thing I've done is to move the x over and then tombalik the whole equation. Understand? So nothing has changed, huh? Nothing has changed. And now we divide. So we get x to be greater than -2/3. And that's your answer. And for part 2, this is something that some people don't know how to do. Now the question says that you need to leave your, give me the smallest possible integer value, okay, that follows the inequality. So you just need to ask yourself, what is the next possible integer after that? Answer is 0. Now for some people, some schools, they teach that 0 is not an integer. If your school teach you that way, then you put 1. It depends on your school. Part C. The question is asking you to simplify the following. X squared plus 9x plus 14 divide by 4x squared minus 1 times 2x minus 1 over x plus 7. So this is a quadratic disgusting thing. So we're going to break down the quadratic and we get x plus 2, x plus 7, divide by 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, multiply by 2x minus 1 over x plus 7. And then can cancel. So bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Final answer, x plus 2 over 2x plus 1. Part D, part donkey. The question is asking you to solve a quadratic equation, 12x squared minus 29x plus 14 equals to 0. So like I said, this is a beautiful kind of quadratic equation. Break it down, you get 4x minus 7, 3x minus 2 equals to 0, x is equals to 1/3/4, or x is equals to 2/3. Like I said, your numbers need to be in mixed number, decimals cannot be improper. And elephant is simultaneous, so let's do it together. 10x plus y equals to 5. Equation later. 14x plus 2y equals to 1. So for me, I will change. I'm going to do the substitution method. So I'm going to change the y. Let y be the subject. 5 minus 10x, equation 1, sub equation 1 into equation 2. And we get 14x plus 2, 5 minus 10x equals to 1. And simplify it down. 14x plus 10 minus 20x equals to 1. 6x equals to 9. Same thing. I hate negative x values, so I will move all the x's over to make it look nice. It's personal preference. Okay, whatever works for you. X is equals to 3/2, or aka 1.5. To complete the question now, okay, let's solve the question. We sub back x is equals to 1.5 into equation 1, definitely. Y equals to 5 minus 10 times 1.5. Final answer, -10. And those are all the answers for the first 5 questions. Okay? Any questions? Can see from the back. Okay, beautiful. So if you're done, next one I want is 5. Okay, so please take some time to look at the whole of 5, and then we will go through. Okay, let's go through. So you've got about 15 minutes. Okay, let's run through all the questions here. Let's go. So for the first one, okay, I'll go through in quite a bit of detail, so please listen carefully. Yeah. Okay. 5A. There will be some questions here that I'll be giving alternative solutions to as well in a short while. Okay, so please listen carefully. 5a. We have h equals to the square root of 3 plus 5k over k. So this is very similar to the example that we did earlier. So we remove the square root. H squared equals to 3 plus 5k over k. And let's cross multiply. H squared k equals to 3 plus 5k. And now notice that both of them contain a k. So we're going to group the numbers up. And we get h squared k minus 5k equals 3. Let's factorize, and we get k, h squared minus 5 equals to 3, k equals to 3 over h squared minus 5. And that's the answer. Now, moving on. So far, okay? This is part A. Very, very simple question. Part B. Now, for part B, the question is this: 4 over 5t minus 2 over t minus 1 over s plus t equals to 0. Now, notice one thing. All three denominators are very different, but notice that this one in particular, the two t's are pretty similar, but this one is slightly off. So what I like to do is, I'm going to move the one that is slightly off to the other side. So let's group these up together first. You get 4 over 5t minus 2 over t equals to 1 over s plus t. Now, there are many ways of doing the question. This is how I would do it. Make a common denominator, and we get 4 minus 10 over 5t equals to 1 over s plus t. Sorry. Cross multiply, and we'll get negative 6s plus t equals to 5t. And now expand and simplify. So we get negative 6s minus 6t equals to 5t. 11t, same thing, I hate negative values. So 11t equals to negative 6s. And we are done. I want t over s, which is negative 6 over 11. And that's how you do this. Okay, any questions before we move on? And now moving on, we have part C. So part C, for the previous classes, I did both elimination and substitution method. So let's do the elimination method first. I'm going to present both, so it's really for you to decide which one you prefer. So let's look at the elimination first. So I have my two equations, 4x minus 3y equals to 9, and 10x minus 4y equals to 18. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose two of the variables to make it the same. In this case, I'm going to choose the y's because the numbers are very friendly to me. I can times 4 here, and I can times 3 here. And I get 16x minus 12y equals to 36. And for this, 30x minus 12y equals to 54. And now we are ready to manipulate these equations. Let's call this equation 1, and let's call this equation 2. And how do we get rid of the same negative 12y? We need to minus the two equations together. So we take equation 1 minus equation 2. I'll write it slowly for you. 16x minus 12y minus 30x minus 12y equals to 36 minus 54. And we can simplify this into negative 14x equals to negative 18x, 1, 2 over 7. And now we are ready to sub in. So substitute x equals to 1, 2 over 7 into equation 1. Okay. And we get 4, 1, 2 over 7 minus 3y equals to 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 19. And therefore y equals to negative 1, 2 over 7. And that's the answer. Okay. This is the elimination method. Now I'm going to show you the substitution method. So it's something slightly different. So let's look at the other possibility, the other way of solving the question. Okay, at the back, I hope you can see. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. This is the substitution method. It's the same thing, same principle. 4x minus 3y equals to 9. 10x minus 4y equals to 18. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to choose the easiest equation. In this case, is this case here. So let's make y the subject. So y equals to 4x minus 9 over 3. And this is equation 1. And this is equation 2. Sub 1 into 2. And now let's play with this. 10x minus 4, 4x minus 9 over 3 equals to 18. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this 3 and multiply it out to every single term. Let's talk about a common mistake that some people will make here. Some people will multiply one side and then the other side will completely forget. Or sometimes they will only choose certain terms and multiply. No, it's every single thing. Understand? So now we multiply to every single term. We get 30x minus 16x plus 36 equals to 18 times 3, which is 54. And we are almost done. 14x equals to 18. X equals to 1, 2 over 7. And that's the answer. Okay, and then the remaining is exactly the same. So the remaining, I leave it to you to write on your own. And these are the two possible ways to solve the question. Any questions before I move on? Behind, okay? The two girls behind, okay? Okay, okay. Yeah, okay, nice. Moving on is D. Okay, we pause here a while. Any questions, please ask.
Everything by the 3, right? Then there's the 4x minus 9 also times 3.
Okay, it does. So when you times 3 to this fraction here, what? The denominator disappears.
Oh.
That's why it's like that. Next, good question. Okay, now, one thing I want to say is this. I don't know whether people doing it here. I mean, looking long like that doesn't look like it. But I don't know. I never walk around and see. Okay, but I just want to say one tiny thing. I need an example. Okay, you know, just on this example here, I said times 3 on both sides. Now, I think some schools, they have the habit of teaching their students to do this. So I know I'm going to times 3, right? So on the side, people will write times 3, times 3. Am I right? Some people will have this habit. Okay, I don't know what your school said, but personally, I wouldn't. You know why? Simple reason, simple logic behind it. If, for example, you choose the wrong number, you just told the whole entire world what you did wrongly. Understand? Okay, for example, if you're supposed to times 4, but you times 3 instead, you just told your teacher that, hey, you times 3, and you got it wrong. Understand? So I suggest you don't. Suggestion. Okay, but if you really, really do need it, then go ahead. Okay, I suggest not, of course. Part D. Oh, I ran out of space. Okay. Now, part D, right, is also pretty interesting. I want to talk a little bit about this question as well. Okay, maybe something that you do not know, and I think so. Okay, so please listen to this question very carefully. Now, D part 1 is very straightforward. This one, nothing much here. So you get m squared equals to 36. Now, obviously, you're supposed to square root both sides. You get m equals to plus minus 6. Very straightforward. Now, part 2 is the interesting one. Okay, if you look at the way the question is being phrased, I want to talk about the question. The way the question is being phrased. The question has these words, hence or otherwise. Then dot, 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 who cares? Now, there is a very big difference between questions that says hence and hence or otherwise. Let me explain the difference. When you see the word hence, it means you need to use previous parts. It's a must, 100% must. If you see or otherwise, this means you can use, so I say may choose an alternative. So what does this mean? If my question says, hence, solve this, 100% you need to use the previous part. If the question says, hence or otherwise, then it's up to you. Understand? So for the purpose of learning, I'm going to show you both ways of how you solve the question using the hence method and the otherwise method. Both also can. So let's call this the, okay, I'm going to color the different things. So I call this the green star, and let's use, okay, let's choose a new different color. What is nice? Orange. Okay, so the green star and the orange star. Okay, the different methods. Let's start with the green star first. The hence method. The hence method is very straightforward. We use the previous part. So we get 3n plus 4 squared equals to 36. Now notice that this is exactly the same as your previous question. The only difference is just that m equals to 3n plus 4. Understand? So we're going to do a replacement. Okay? And you get 3n plus 4 equals to plus minus 6. And we're ready to solve the question. 3n plus 4 equals to 6, or 3n plus 4 equals to negative 6, and we get n equals to 2 over 3, or n equals to negative 3 1/3. This is the hence method. Let's look at the otherwise method. The otherwise method is a different way. We are given a quadratic expression, 3n plus 4 squared equals to 36. So what can you do? Expand law. Also can. Expand. Oh, sorry, you haven't got me finished. So let's expand this, and we get 9n squared minus 24n plus 16 equals to 36. Solve the quadratic equation. And now we've got a quadratic equation here, which you can break down. 3n minus 2, 3n plus 10 equals to 0, n equals to 2 over 3, or n equals to negative 3 1/3. So two different ways of doing it. One way is the hence method. One way is the otherwise method. Understand? That's the difference. Okay, we need to end very soon because I do have a class after this. So far, okay? Okay, moving on to the last two parts, okay, which is parts E and part F. Sorry, are you done? Sorry, no, anyone not done? Yeah. Okay, nice. Okay, moving on into E. I'll just give you the solution very quickly. So part E, part 1. Okay, this is an expansion question. Now, if you're very weak at this, please follow my method. 1 over 3x plus 6 over x whole entire thing squared. So if you cannot see it fast in the if you cannot see it yet, then what I will do is to write it out. 1 over 3x plus 6 over x. 1 over 3x plus 6 over x. we're going to expand using the rainbow. So this, this, and this. So follow the rainbows. 1/3 x times 1/3 x is 1/9 x squared. Okay, the next one is a bit challenging. 1/3x plus 6/x. The value is 2. Okay, let me explain why very quickly. The reason is because 3/x, nope, salah, x/3 times 6/x, cancel, you get 2. Understand? 6/x times 1/3x is also 2. 6/x times 6/x is 36/x squared. And we're done. 1/9x squared plus 4 plus 36/x squared. Clear? One thing that you should take note of as well, there is a very big difference between half x versus 1/2x. All can see the difference, huh? Half x, the x is in the numerator. 1/2x is in the denominator. Be very careful. Okay. Part 2. The solution is this: 6p squared plus 3 minus 2p squared cube minus q. We can factorize. So 2p squared minus plus 1, sorry, plus q negative 2p squared minus 1. But notice that, are these two similar? Yes. Okay, it's just that there's a minus sign. So let's pull it out as well. 2p squared plus 1 minus q, 2p squared plus 1. Ah, voila, finish. 2p squared plus 1, 3 minus q. Finish. See, algebra easy, right? And now to wrap up the last two parts, and then we can officially end today. Part F, part 1, we have 3m over 7n squared divide by m cubed n over 21 equals to, now let's do some cancellations. 3m over 7n squared, now I don't like divide, so we multiply by 21 over m cubed of n, and let's cancel. So we have 7 cancel with the 21. This is a 3. The m cancel with the cube. This becomes a 2. And the final answer is 9 over m squared n cube. There is a strategy that if you want to check if your final answer is correct for this kind of questions, sub in value. Sub in a random value for m, sub in a random value for n, and check left and right. If the answer come out to be the same, you're most likely correct. Okay, that's just another strategy. And the very last one, okay, before we end, part 2, we have 6 over h squared minus 3h minus 10 minus 2 over h plus 2 equals to 6 over h plus 2. Break down the quadratic. H minus 5 minus 2 over h plus 2. And let's make common denominator. So h minus 2, h minus 5, h plus 2, h minus 5. And we are almost done. We get expand, so you get 6 minus 2h plus 10 divided by h plus 2, h minus 5. Final answer, 16 minus 2h over h plus 2, h minus 5. Now, arguably, I would say that there's an even better answer than this, which is to factorize out the 2 in the top. So I would say that the best possible answer is 2, 8 minus h over h plus 2, h minus 5. And that is the final answer. Okay, and we are done. Any questions? Thank you for your hard work. Okay, so we're all done. There's every single question gone through that we are doing today. Okay, before you leave, oh, sorry, are you done? Are you done? Ah, okay. Okay, so before we end off, I just have some more slides to run through. Okay, we hope that you enjoyed the experience. Okay, hope you learned something from me today. Okay, I need just a few favors. Oh, but before that, okay, just to share. So if you like my teaching style and you want to work with me, I can promise you an A if you work hard. Okay, so that is basically me lah. Okay, I really do want to work with you if can. So there's early bird sign-ups here in September, and we'll start classes in November. So this is for both EMath and AMath. Now, suggestion: if your math is not good, I suggest you get help quick for AMath because it will snowball very fast. Okay. And the last thing is this. Okay, I do need a little favor. Okay, there is a QR code here. Can you please help me do this survey? Okay, very quickly. There's this quick little survey, if possible. Help me to complete it. Okay, this is just to evaluate the whole experience and also what can we do better, okay, for the future events.